This is your second world title shot. Fighting Claressa Shields. One, what was she like actually in the ring? But two, what was she like building up to the fight? Because if I'm being honest, what I see about her, which I love, and also sometimes you can get quite frustrated with as a supporter with, you know, one of our home English girls about to fight her, is she's quite gobby. You know, she's got good lyrics. She knows how to rev the crowd up. She knows how to piss off her opponent. What was that like, fighting her and promoting the fight with her?
Well, yeah, she definitely won that fight. You know, I was in there against somebody who's got 2 Olympic gold medals, multiple world championship titles, you know, and the reason that I ended up fighting her is because nobody else wanted to fight her. At the time, everyone was she was meant to fight Christina Hamer, who I'd been sparring. I was sparring partner for Christina Hamer over in Germany, and that was meant to be the big fight, which happened later. But nobody wanted to fight her. It was kind of a good story, and someone said, "Oh, would you do it?" And Noel came to me, my coach. He said, "We've been offered the Claressa Shields fight." At which point, I sat back down in the ring, and I was like, "What?" I mean, what? And I remember being asked it. I was like, "Brilliant," because in my mind, if you want to be the best at something, you better fight the best. And the same in music. If you want to be the best, you got to work with the best. You've got to learn from the best. So I was like, I'll do it. Right. And we naturally didn't like each other. And it was immediately like we thought we had nothing in common. You know, I come from the middle of nowhere in Scotland on a farm, started boxing late, didn't have any amateur experience, up against someone who's from Flint, Michigan, one of the roughest parts of the US. 2 Olympic gold medals, completely different story. And like we thought we had nothing in common. She's like, "I'm gonna knock you out in 4 rounds." I was like, "You never knocked anybody out." You know, and I was just like, and then that's how it started, you know, and I was just speaking facts, you know, and things. And this is how the whole social media side of it all blew up. And there's a lot of trash talking forwards and backwards. And it was the first time I'd really experienced the big stage. This was the big stage. It was on Matchroom. It was on DAZN. It was beamed globally around the world. I got flown to New York for 24 hours. It was incredible for a press conference. I'd never done anything crazy like this. The suite I had in New York was bigger than my flat in London, and it was just mine. And my coach had one as well. You know, like that whole experience is like, now you're in the big leagues, you know, and that was when I learned a lot about myself, because I had to speak in front of the cameras for the press conferences. Then I had, like, you know, the fight week press conference where she's having to go at me. I'm sitting next to Gabe Rosado, who I think is one of the coolest guys ever in boxing, and I'm above him on the ranking on the list because I'm co-main event. And I was just someone who I massively admire. So he was just like, "Oh, people talk too much," you know. He gave me some advice when we were talking. So then I had to stand up there and speak, and I was in front of all these cameras, and it gave me such great experience. And what I learned and how to behave in front of the cameras is super important. You know, like what you say, and be able to deal with her being really loud, shouting at me, coming back with these comments and stuff. And I learned a lot. Like, my Scottish DNA definitely came to the forefront, and you see that in the weigh-in, you know, like, so we do the weigh-in, and then she's taking ages to get her shoes on. And this is something funny, because in the lead up that fight week, her team had been late for everything, literally everything. So we'd all had to wait for her the whole week, right? And then I was waiting for her again to put her shoes on so we could do the face-off. I was like, "Do you need to put your shoes on just to be taller than me? What's going on?" And then we had to go in. I put my head in, she put her head in. And the security at the time were like, "Oh, is this for the cameras?" And I was like, my coach was like, "No, someone needs to step in," because they're gonna have a go at each other. And that was a whole crazy situation where our teams were being kept apart in the hotel. It was just really, really different, right? So great experience. But then we get to the fight, and it's probably the best shape I've ever been in my life. I was super focused at that point in my career, best shape I've ever been in, very mentally focused, super ready to go. And I lost on a 10-round points decision. And yeah, she's a much better boxer, but the whole lead up to the fight, we've been working on trying to make her angry, because I wanted her to fight me, because then I had a puncher's chance. I didn't want her to use all of her Olympic skills in the lead up to the fight. I didn't want her to do that, because at that point in time I was like not experienced enough for that. So, and that's what we successfully did it. So it was great to be in the ring with someone like that. I learned a lot about my boxing skills. I've watched it back, learned loads of things. but we're still going at each other at the end of the fight. Even in anti-doping, we're like, having a go. It wasn't until like 6 months later because I got signed by her management team, Mark Taffet, and her promoter, Dimitri Salita. So I was signed to Dimitri Salita after this fight. And it was like 6 months later, we were going to be on the same card again, but in Flint, Michigan, when she was fighting Ivana Habazin. And we met each other in Florida. And the Showtime cameras were there at the Fifth Street gym. And we had sparring, and Noel had already said to Mark, I'm not so sure that they've really got it out their system yet. I'm not sure they're friends. And Mark's like, I'll be fine. Get there. We're both prowling along either side of the ring before the sparring. And Mark's like, maybe this wasn't a good idea. So then we had rounds like 11 to 18 or whatever, got it all out in the ring. And she fist bumped me after and said, you got better. And from then on, we've just had a great friendship and started work. We had realized we've actually got quite a lot in common. We're very similar in the way that we think about things, about our drive for women's sport, drive for women's boxing, success, and all that sort of stuff. We're actually very similar. But at the time, we couldn't see it in the lead up to the fight. And it made for a great watch for everybody else, and it made a lot of little needle in the fight, which made the fight even better, So it was a fantastic experience. And like I said, it just built my brand even bigger. And it was a great experience in my career, and one that I wouldn't change for anything.